kick us off now, and I will share my screen. There we go. I'll do presentation mode. Module 1. Just really quick background, and these are observations we've probably all made over time, but we have a ton of data to suggest that it's highly accurate. But how buyers are buying, and even just the processes they go through have changed. What we have noticed in the data is that the buying committees have expanded. And I'm not talking by a little bit, I'm talking by a lot. For enterprise level decisions, 6 years ago when I started at LinkedIn, our data showed there were 6.8 executives or people involved in an enterprise level decision. So that's a lot of people at the table. That number today is over 10. I think it's like 10.2 or something around there. So to give you an idea that like there are more people who have a seat at the table now than ever before. And that makes it challenging for you and I because now we have, the onus is on us to go ahead and discover, well, who are the members of that broader buying committee, right? Because there will be, the person who approves the budget, someone who signs the contract, but there will be a lot of influencers involved in that process as well. Some evaluators, some different types of roles, depending on your methodology that you adhere to. But the facts are, more people are there, and we need to find them. Just to differentiate between LinkedIn and SalesNav, LinkedIn was never designed to be like a business development sales efficiency tool. It wasn't designed with that purpose. Um, one of the core differences between the two platforms, and it's really one platform, Sales Navigator sits on top of it, but LinkedIn, even though we've got 1.2 billion members, right? You actually can only find a very small fraction of that. I think it's between 5 and 10% you'll have access to with LinkedIn.com, our flagship product. Sales Navigator opens up that entire network for you, so all the buyers can be found. Okay, so if you think about this data, right? 1.2 billion members. We know where they work. We know where they used to work. We know who they're connected to. We know where they went to school, what their degree is in. We know what their skill sets are. We have an enormous amount of data here at LinkedIn. We're a data company. So if you think about Sales Navigator, think of it as a custom set of advanced filters that rest right on top of all that robust LinkedIn data. Right? It's the world's largest real-time first-party data set. So yeah, we benefit from that, right? So this is a tool that's going to help you leverage that data and those insights. And as we think about the why, um, it comes down to relationships. It has always been and always will be a relationship game. And there is a direct correlation between the number of relationships that we have in our accounts and the strength of those relationships. And they correlate with the business and the bottom line, so the revenue that we can get from these organizations. So it we have data that says people who are using Sales Navigator are building many more relationships, 4 times as many relationships than their non-Sales Navigator using peers. We also know they're being more efficient. Forrester did a study for us a couple of years ago to look really deep into our client base and get a sense for, how, in terms of how they're spending their time, what would those efficiency gains look like? And they've come up with about 65 hours per seller annually. And of course, all this is translating into about 31% more deals won. And again, this is a Forrester study across our client base. And we're just about done here. What are we going to walk through today? We're going to find all the right people. We're going to show you how to find very specific people, needles in a haystack, so to speak, which you just couldn't do on LinkedIn. We're going to help you at some point. We're going to help you how to learn how to engage effectively. That's probably going to be in session number 2. But we will also give you some tidbits today on how to elevate the conversation. How do we get their attention? How do we get them to care about what I have to say? So we will talk about that today a little bit. All right. So with that, we will get right into the demo. be sharing my screen. Okay, so here is Sales Navigator. If you're relatively new to the platform, it looks like there's a lot going on here. I understand that. There really isn't, and I'll break it down, at some point here during our time today. But don't let it intimidate you because it's really not as complicated as it looks. There's just a lot of data. You just kind of have to know where to look. That's all. And so we'll walk through that. The first thing we're going to walk through though is I'm going to show you how to look for white space, and this might make sense for some of you, maybe maybe not all of you, but it's a worthwhile exercise. Even if we think we know everybody, all the different accounts in different regions that we need to target, it's a moving target, and sometimes we're going to find companies that we didn't know existed that are prime targets for us. So I'm just going to take a minute to walk through that. And so how we would do that is there are two main filters up here at the very top of the page, leads and accounts. We're going to start with the accounts filter and click that. And I'm going to start to apply some information. Maybe we want to let's look at industries. So I'm going to type in agriculture, construction, and mining machinery manufacturing. That's a good one, right? Let's try that one. And I think I will put in maybe a couple more just to broaden the search. Let's do packaging. We'll do packaging and containers. I'll do one more, food and beverage manufacturing. We'll keep it to those. You can add as many as you like. And trust me, there's going to be a lot more relevant industries in there that you would care about. So you can go ahead and put as many as you like in there. Next thing I might want to think about is the headquarters location, if it matters, right? We could pick countries, states or provinces, cities, towns, even regions or counties. We can do zip codes if you wanted to get that specific, or postal codes. But I think what we'll do here is I'll just pick Michigan just to keep the numbers down a little bit. Okay, now I can see so far from the filters that I've applied, there are roughly 2,500 companies in Michigan within these three industries. Maybe I want to add a headcount size. Let's focus on the large accounts. So maybe I want to say anything over 1,000 employees. So we'll do this, this, and this. Right? Maybe I'll include 500 to 1,000. So we've got five new companies. And for the sake of this demo, I'm just curious. How many are in the whole US? Let's just take a look at that match this search. 302 large enterprise companies with over 1,000 employees within just these three industries. Okay. Now, here's the cool thing for CRM integrated clients. The way that we could start to prior or figure out if there's any white space here is I could exclude the companies or the accounts that are already in my CRM. So there's 302 on this list as it is. If I were to exclude those, there's 10 of them that aren't even in our CRM. They're not on our radar at all. That's that to me is there's no such thing as low-hanging fruit anymore. But in terms of prioritizing and looking for net new opportunities, maybe these are good opportunities, right? So this is how I would do that. And you can mess around with these filters, but you don't need to know many of them to get us, to do this little white space search. And again, you could change the headquarters location, you could change the company sizes, and you can add a bunch more industries if you want. I just wanted to give you a sense for how I would go about looking at, white space. Okay. All right. If I wanted to, I could see all the people that worked at these companies by simply going from the account search to a lead search. And a lead in our world, in the sale in LinkedIn world, is just another name for a contact or a potential. It's a potential lead, is what it probably should say. But I can just go ahead and toggle over to leads. It will show me the people that work at these 10 organizations. See, I click lead, it pulled over those filters, right? Now I can see because they're large companies. There's 500,000, plus people that work at those organizations. All right. So you saw how I did that, right? We started on the account search, added some filters, and then if I wanted to see who actually works at those companies, I just switched over to leads. Okay. So now we want to find specific people. Here's the, I'm going to pause for a second because, again, this is sort of still that white space motion, but you can actually start with the lead search. We did the account search first, right? But you could start with the lead search, and now it's a blank slate. There are no filters. And where it says current company, I could put in a target account. I could even put in all my CRM accounts if I wanted to, because of the integration, right? And so I can see, these are all people who work at my CRM accounts. Or you could just put your top 5 targets in here. Maybe you've got a top 5 or top 10, priority list that you want to focus on. So you could easily do that. Okay, but I think what we'll do is we'll go back here to this search, and we're going to focus now on finding the specific people. Okay, so right here where it says role, this is how we do it, and there's a couple of ways to do it. Um, First thing I always recommend doing is under where it says seniority level. Well, let's just see who are the senior most people that work at these organizations. And you can do that by going to CXO. So these are all the C levels, and I can hit include. There's 2,500 of them, right? So that's a lot. Um, what I might do is let me take this down a little bit. It's too many people. 2,000, this. All right, maybe I'll just do, we've got so many people, so now we've got 1,000 people, right? Who 1,000 results right here, who work at in a CXO position within these 3 industries within the United States, right? So now from here, what you're going to want to do is start to find. So these are the C levels. You want to save this search right here. See this little button? If I just click this, that's all I had to do. Now you see the notification, your search was saved. So what that means is now once a week, and usually for me, it's like Sunday evenings, maybe Monday mornings, I'll get an email letting me know if there are new executives that match these search parameters. Helps me stay on top of my account base and my prospecting list to make sure I'm aware of any new senior folks that move into the organization. Okay, so if you don't save that, we can't let you know that. So that's why saving this search is a good thing. Okay, I'm going to unsave it just for me. Okay, now what we want to do is I'm going to remove this CXO filter. All right, so we've got 160,000 people in these 3 industries in the United States who work at a company that has between 1,000 and 5,000 people. Again, you can play around with these filters all you want, but from here now, there's other ways to search for people. You could do the current job title. This is my favorite way to do it. Okay. So I'm gonna take a sec to explain this because this is my recommendation to you is to click this little plus, and we can treat this like a keyword search. That's why I like this. I don't have to go like, functions are broad, right? If I click the functions, I could look at, operations, engineering, IT, and these are good, right? You could cast a wide net. You could say, show me all the engineers. And I could even add a seniority level and say, show me all the VPs of engineering, right? There's 37 of them. So I could do that. It's casting a wide net, but the reality is not all of these engineers are the ones that we're going to want to talk to, right? So the way that we can be more precise is to use the job title. And this way, because there's so many different types of engineers, I mean, I could just use a keyword like automation. And even though as I start to type automation, a lot of different titles popping up, right? Don't click any of them. I'm just actually going to hit enter because I do want to see anybody who's got the word automation in their title. So I'm going to hit enter. There are 212 people, right, who have automation in the title. That's awesome. Again, so if you like this search and this is relevant for you, save the search. Just click it. That way we can show you as new, people match these search parameters. Okay. I mean, automation is just one example. You could also use controls. Again, don't click any of these options, hit enter because I do want to see anybody who's got the word controls. 309. Fantastic. Anyone want to guess what the next step is? Save the search, right? Right here. Just give it a quick click. All right. In addition to controls, innovation. Lots of them. 281. How about plant manager? Enter. 1,000 plus. Lots of them. Okay. So I think you get the idea, right? Type in procurement, type in, any word or keyword that I didn't use yet that, you've seen in some relevant titles, just treat it like a keyword search. So hopefully this helps you find those really specific people that, otherwise can be a bit challenging to find. I'm going to pause for a second and been talking for almost 20 minutes now. So I'll give someone a chance to ask a question. And Kim, I can't see the chat. So if there is anything in the chat, please let me know so I can address it. But does anyone have anything they want to come off mute and ask me a question live?
There's only one item in the chat right now, and I think it's related to the integration. Tim specifically put CRM integration filtering is interesting. Will this integrate with Salesforce? Because we currently are not on Salesforce, but we will be by the end of the year.
Okay, yeah. So that's a great call out. So yes, this will integrate with Salesforce. So good call out. So that that first motion that I showed you where I was excluding, those companies that were in my CRM already, that won't work for you until the integration is all set up. So, but that'll be, I think, really helpful going forward once if we can get that set up. There's a lot of really cool efficiency gains. I can kind of show you the benefits of that too. But thanks for the question.
Another question in the chat says, what does the account has buying intent mean, and how is that triggered to my account?
Yeah, that's a great question. So that's where I'm going. I'm going to actually address that in about 3 minutes because, in fact, you know what? I might even go. Yeah, I'm going to go there in about 3 minutes. From the account page, I'll show you how that's calculated. Is that it for the chat then?
That's it in the chat. I don't know if anybody has anything they want to jump in and come off mute with, but
I got a quick question.
Yeah.
With regards to that integration with CRM, is there a way to just integrate with maybe perhaps a list or something like that in the meantime that you could feed it? Maybe it's not a feature, but just being curious.
Yeah, you bet it is. Yeah. So going back to like this, I went to like here's the home page. I'm going to go to lead filters. And under current company, you can actually upload a list. So a CSV or Excel file. And so, right, like I uploaded one right here. So you can easily do that too. Yep.
Very cool. Thank you.
You got it. If you have any issues with that, let me know and I can, send instructions, but it's fairly straightforward, I think. Did I see a question from Sean?
Yeah, thanks. Just wanted to check, Kim, do you happen to know if we've got confirmation that our iteration of Salesforce is going to have the Sales Navigator integration capability?
I don't have that confirmation yet, but that is a good question to be asking the team as we're working on the launch.
Right. And just given that we don't know the answer to that just yet, please be mindful of kind of expectation management with this. We don't want you all assuming that it's going to be a breeze. We obviously need to do some checking on that front just to ensure that that's the case.
Yeah, that's a good call out. I will tell you, people when they hear the word integration, they get a little bit concerned because it's they've been through many different types of integrations of varying successes. It's not like an ERP integration or something that's super heavy. It's actually because Salesforce is a partner of ours. It's literally just a Salesforce app package that gets installed, and there's a bunch of toggles where you get to control what features that you want to enable. So it's typically about an hour's work for an IT guy or a CRM admin. It's not. I don't want you to think of it as like, when you have to go into this massive queue for a huge integration project. It's not that at all. But we can have that conversation offline. But thanks for bringing it up because it's very relevant. Okay. So there's a few more filters here that I want to show you before I get into some of the AI stuff, which I think you're really going to like. Um, keeping it simple, right? We're just trying to find people. How do we find these people that we care about? I just put in these two titles for now. We got over 1,000 results. There are other filters. First of all, if any of them are following your company right here, I mean, that would be interesting, right? I'd want to know that, all right? None of them are following my company, but perhaps I'm not in this industry, so perhaps some of them are following B&R. I'd want to look at their profile a little bit more and find out, what their story is. Maybe they're alumni. Who knows? Maybe their spouse or partner works there. Maybe they went to an event recently and shook a few hands and decided to follow the company. You don't know until you take a look, right? So always look at that. I'm about to show you my favorite feature on the entire platform. Um, and I will tell you, and I'll be candid in that it will benefit you a little bit today. I think it will benefit you a lot down the road, depending on, well, a few different variables. But there's something under here where it says connection. And if I click plus, it's going to unlock another handful of filters, but it's really just this team link connections that I get excited about because what Team Link does is it looks across my company's network and tries to find colleagues of mine that are connected to these people. It's 1,000 of these professionals that we want to meet probably. Well, if I click Team Link, it's going to show me that I can get introductions to 56 of them. Okay, so basically, if I look at Ernst here, if this was a person I felt I wanted to speak with, I have one Team Link connection. I'm going to click this, and I can see right now we're owned by Microsoft, so same company. And I don't know how to say this. I don't know how to pronounce. I'll say Mrs. Dempsey is a colleague of mine at Microsoft. And I've never met her. I've never heard her name before. I'm not connected to her. You can see she's third degree, but the algorithm will look across my corporate network to see, who has a connection to this person that I want to meet. Now, the caveat here is that it's only looking at Sales Navigator users at your company. Now, B&R is part of ABB, and we do have quite a few contracts going across the broader organization. So we need to look into it, but we do have the ability to make sure that you can leverage, the broader network as well. So that's more of a thing for Kim and I to dive into after. But just to let you know, this feature, when we have a large scaled program going, opens up doors like nobody's business. The introductions are the way to go. We all know how hard it is to get the attention of these buyers. Everyone and their sister are reaching out, trying to get time with these targeted buyers, all your competitors. What can we do different? Well, what you can do is leverage the relationship capital that exists across B&R and the whole of ABB. That's how we unlock growth opportunities. This is how the most successful sales organizations on the planet are doing it today. And this is all I have done for 6 years. So I have high hopes for this for you down the road. At the moment, we don't have a large deployment, but you will find some team links. It should be your first step. If you've got team links, ask for an introduction. And the best practice is, hello, Ms. Dempsey, we've not met. My name is Robin, and we're colleagues. Actually, work in Toronto. Hope you're having a great year so far. I do have a question for you. I noticed you were connected to Ernst at Hill's Pet Nutrition. I'm curious how you know him. I've been trying to get a meeting. I have some very compelling data I'm confident he'll appreciate. I wonder if you could help me with an introduction if I ghost write a message for you. And that's key. If you're going to ask for a favor, you should take the work off their plate. Draft the note. All they basically have to do at that point is copy, paste, and send. I'll pause here because I saw a question come up, but the last thing I'll say is, rough numbers, back of the napkin math, I might ask for 10 introductions a week. About 6 or 7 of my colleagues are willing to do it. The other 4 are like, I don't really know her that well, or I met her at an event 12 years ago. She wouldn't remember me or whatever. There's usually a few of those for sure. But I would say about 6 to 7 of those are willing to make the intro. And of those, I typically land about 4 meetings. But I also tell you, I think about how long would it take you just by old school methods, emails, phone calls, that sort of thing. How long would it take you to book 4 high quality meetings with highly targeted people like this? It would take you hours and hours, no doubt. So this is I think a real time saver. Okay, I'll pause because I did see someone put their hand up. I think it was Calvin.
Yeah. Yeah, appreciate it. I know for a fact I'm underutilizing the team link, and as you were talking there, I had a second question pop up, so I'll lead with that one because it's relevant to the team link. Is that something that there has to be definitions set around in the background, or is it just created like anyone that works at BNR that it would show up as a team link?
Yeah, so it's going to be anyone who has Sales Navigator at
Sales
BNR and
Navigator.
yes, and ABB. And if it's so, we've got the opportunity to help you leverage each other's networks if you both want to do that because you're part of them. We could
Okay.
integrate that so that if there's 400 people using it across the whole company, there would be 400 networks that you could tap into for those introductions. Now,
Okay.
when we scale this and we're trying to position an enterprise program at the global level, if we get to scale this, we can include basically the entire company's network as part of Team Link. And that's the benefit I have. And what I hope for you one day is that we can, you should be able to have to use nothing else other than Team Links to fill your book with your agenda with, or your calendar with meetings.
Yeah. Okay. That's great. The actual question I raised my hand for was, so on the feature, it's connections of.
Mm-hmm.
I've used that feature to find connections and yeah, occasionally even like company, people who work for BNR, but it seems like we're limited to finding connections of people we're connected to. Can you confirm that is true or not?
Yeah, that's what connections. It's more like if you have a connection, someone in your network that you happen to know is super connected, you could just kind of take a look and see where they can help you with introductions. It's a less effective way because you can't really scale it. It's almost like Team Link is almost like that times 100 because you get to leverage many more networks, right?
Yeah, and I think it's just a bottom up or top down approach that I'm
Yeah.
using it because I'm oftentimes using Sales Navigator in the opposite way that you're kind of showing, just because that's how I've been doing it. But it's rather than trying to identify, like I know who I'm looking for, right? I've already found the company, and I'm trying to find the person at the company, and so I'm trying to find a connection to that person that I might get an introduction from. So
Right.
okay.
Yeah.
Uh,
Sorry, keep going. Yep.
yeah, no, that's pretty much it.
Okay. Well, first of all, there's no wrong way to use this because there's so many ways to accomplish the same tasks in here. That's why it could be confusing. So I just like to show you kind of how we do it over here and how I'm doing it. And if you've got a different way of doing it, but you're getting the same result, don't change it. Just keep that in mind. Um, okay. So that's Team Link. Now, the second best option to Team Link, I'm going to remove it. But within the same group of filters, still under the connection header, there's second degree connections. So if I click this, of those, what was it, 1,000 people? Yeah, 1,000 or so people. I share a connection with 36 of them, right? And I don't swim in your waters. I don't typically sell to these organizations. But what I can see here is that, mutual connection. So Brian Jones, plant manager, Mom's Meals. I got a mutual connection and it's Al Hogue. Okay. I used to work with him, I think, at one point in the past. It's been a long time. So I could reach out to Al and just explain my situation. Hey, Al, listen, I hope you've been okay. I haven't talked to him a bit, but it looks like things are going well for you over there. Just a quick question. I'm curious how you know Brian. It's the same motion, right? So you're going to offer to to draft a message. Say, listen, I have some really, intriguing data he's going to find compelling. Like if I draft a note for you, would you be able to help me with an intro? So I'm not opposed to trying it this way either. I prefer team links. I have more success with team links, but in the absence of it, I will absolutely try a mutual connection. Again, the most successful firms out there are leveraging relationship capital. We've been building our networks for decades, guys, right? It's time to start extracting value from that and collectively across the organization that can be really powerful. So that's second degree. Once we have that integration set up down the road, I can see if there's any past customers on this list. That's cool because we can see if there's any of these 1,000 people, if these names have been affiliated with a closed won opportunity in your CRM at some point. So we'll be able to help you with that too. So down the road, right? Okay, so now what I want to do is we're going to pick an account. And I mean, and I'll pick, well, I was on this one a little earlier. Let's just do Caterpillar. So the first thing I want to show, first of all, there's a bunch of hyperlinks up here. You've probably seen these, right? I could quickly see all the employees that work at Caterpillar just by clicking this link. And it's going to take me back to that lead search that you saw earlier, right? Caterpillar. But on the account page, the account IQ is one of my favorite new enhancements to our platform that I think you're going to get a ton of value out of. If you haven't tried this yet, and you should all have access to this by now. I know it says beta, but I think we've actually made it GA. So the account IQ is basically our algorithm reading the internet for everything we can find on Caterpillar. And what we want to surface for you right here, you got to click this little view more button. There's a bunch of data hiding beneath this. So give it a click. We'll show you how they make money, but we're also going to show you their strategic priorities and their business challenges. Okay. And so again, we're reading the internet. We're trying to figure there's a confidence factor built into the algorithm that helps us surface only the insights that we feel are relevant and timely. Okay, this gets updated once a quarter. So every 3 months, this data, if there's any new data to surface, it will be updated with that. And we'll even put the source of where we're getting the information directly beneath in case you want to click it and dig in to see where we're getting it from. But I find this to be really helpful, especially if I think about how I used to do this. And I bet you there's people on the phone today who maybe are from my era where, I get a new account and I would basically do a Google search. I'll go to the account page, their website. I go to their blogs, their newsletters. I'd look at annual reports. I'd look at investors analyses. I would just copy and paste anything that looked relevant into this massive spaghetti document, this huge Word document where I then comb through it to look for little nuggets I can use to try and get their attention. Now it was a multiple hours long process. Hopefully this can get you off to a real quick start and save some time there. So I do find this to be helpful. Okay. Other information, competitive landscape, right? Headcount insights. This is I've started to look at this a little more frequently lately because it gives you a sense of their hiring trends. So like if I see engineering here, they've actually added 6% of engineers and 11% in operations. Well, actually, they're growing everywhere, aren't they? So they're experiencing some pretty decent growth in the last year. But if I was to see a decline by 14% in engineering, that if I'm selling what you're selling, that may deter me, or it may help me consider that when I'm prioritizing my accounts. So it's worth taking a quick peek at. Okay. Now, still part of, I'll pause here again in a minute or two, but still part of the account IQ, right near the top of the page, there's this little tab that says Generate Insights. This is really cool. So I'm gonna go ahead and click this. So think about this for a second, right? We just showed you, we know what the strategic priorities are. We know what their business challenges are. Now you can tell it what you sell. And it's going to develop 3 talk tracks for you that you can use. Now, I already programmed, I just picked a couple of randoms, PLC systems. I'll show you how to do this, but now it knows what the company cares about, priorities, challenges, all that stuff. And it knows what I'm selling. So now it can help me generate some grabbers, right? And this could be used either as part of your outreach if you're looking at a prospect account, or it can be used as maybe a topic of conversation for an upcoming meeting I have with an existing account. And, it's a discovery opportunity. It's something for me to dig deeper into to see if, it could lead somewhere. But I find these to be really helpful. Just so that you can program this any way you like. All you need is the URL. So right here, if I click this, if I go right to the bottom, it says manage products. I can hit add a product or service, and I'm going to hit add new. And then I can put a URL in here. So I basically went to your website and I was just picking ones at random, right? So whatever, I mean, you could probably just pick a general one and go to the overall products page instead of, picking one specifically, and put that URL in there. And it might be, it'll cover sort of everything, but also you could be, much more specific in terms of what you wanted to offer. Maybe it's process control. And I can just copy the URL. Copy. Where is it? Put the URL in here. Analyze page. And it's going to read that page and the sublinks within it. And you hit save. And all I would do is I would just go back to where I was. I would hit refresh because I have to hit refresh so it appears in the drop down. So I'll just hit refresh, and now that'll be an option for me. Right there, process control. Okay, and there we go. I'm going to pause here. Jen, I love this stuff right here. I get more value out of this than a lot of the features that we kind of talked about earlier because it helps me understand how to get their attention. I know these are topical, and what I need to do is figure out how do I align, and this is what it does. It helps you figure out how to align what you're positioning, in relation to their challenges and objectives and that sort of thing, right? Any questions on this, or even better yet, has anyone tried this yet, or has anyone had any luck with it? I'm just kind of curious to know if this is new to most of you. I imagine it is, but if it's not and you've tried it already, I'd love to hear your feedback. No, no one's tried it. That's okay.
Seems like it's new to most of us.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, is there value? I mean, is this something that you think could be really helpful?
It's got a chance. We're going to have to give it a whirl.
Yeah, I've tried it on a few accounts. I haven't tried it enough to necessarily get like actionable insight, like actual things. Because I mean, the companies we're going after, typically I would say it's fairly clear the types of products, why they would use the things. Like I said, I'm not necessarily using this to necessarily ID accounts. I think if we're like prospecting new accounts, this could be super helpful if we don't know necessarily what they're building and how they're building it.
Yes. Yeah, no, I understand that for sure, because if it's an existing account, you have some deep knowledge in terms of what they're focused on. I guess, where I'm in that situation too, where, I know a lot of the accounts I'm working on, but one of the challenges I have is I need to, again, to the first point I made when we talked is the buying committee is expanding, right? The more well-connected we are into our accounts and the stronger those relationships are, the more likely that's going to lead to revenue for me as a seller. But if it's a new person or a new contact for me, then I might want to try to keep it a little higher level and try to align with, priorities and challenges or something like that. Just an idea, but yeah, you get it. So like there's interesting data here. How you use it is up to you. But always give it a look because there may be things in here that you're not aware of. And I have caught several things over the last few months that I like to think I know my accounts pretty well. I have learned things from leveraging this. So give it a go. Okay, so we're coming close to the end. I mean, there's a lot more I want to show you folks, but I'm also cognizant of oversharing, right? We said we're going to keep it relatively concise for today. I don't want to boil the ocean because we have a lot more to show in our second module. Kim, did you raise your hand?
I did, just because we still had that one question from the chat about the buying intent, if you've got a little more
Perfect.
insight
Yeah,
into
that's
what that
pretty
means.
the last one I was going to show it because it's right here on this page. Let's do that now. You're seeing a lot more stuff here, but again, I'm not showing you everything today. Here's where the buyer intent is. So the way that we look at buyer intent is we want to measure and score the amount of engagement that's happening back and forth between your company and theirs. For me, this is obviously my company and Cat. So the things that we're looking at are things like, are there connections being made between the organizations, relationships being established? Are there are they engaging with B&R content on LinkedIn? Vice versa? Are there a lot of people within B&R who are engaging with their content? Also, most organizations advertise on LinkedIn these days, and so we can actually track ads engagements. So when they click an ad, as well, we'll know if they've been to the cat or sorry, if they've been to the B&R LinkedIn page, or even to one of the B&R website domains. We can track that as well. So there's a lot of different inputs, right? And you can see here the sort of breakdown of the activities. They're a large client of ours, so that's why you're seeing a lot of engagement here. But like we can track all these different things and we score it because we believe that, and it's not a silver bullet, it's not a perfect science. But there is a correlation between the amount of activities or engagement that's happening, back and forth with their level of interest, typically. And sometimes what it means, at least at my company, is when I see a big, uptick in these types of activities, and it's not me that's doing it. That means it's probably someone at my company. We have 4 business units. So it's probably someone, at my company that is highly engaged here. And that's also a good trigger because I might want to look at that and figure out, well, who are my peers or counterparts at my company who are highly engaged in here? Because maybe we can collaborate, maybe I can leverage their relationships, maybe they can help me with some discovery. Who knows? But it's a good indicator one way or the other. So that's kind of how we look at it. Okay. All right. I mean, Kim, anything else in the chat, or does that cover all the questions for now?
That seems to be it for the chat. So
Okay.
I know we are coming to the end of our time. So Robin, we really want to thank you for taking the time and really showing us some features and ways of, maybe utilizing the tool better to our advantage.
I'm happy to do it, Kim, and we can do this, as often as you like. But I know we've got something else coming up probably in September, October timeframe. So
Right.
I'm actually excited for it, folks. So if you're on this call now, I highly recommend you come back to the next one because I'll do a real quick recap of what we saw today, but there's still several things that we didn't walk through, some more AI stuff that we didn't kind of get to. But I also am anxious to kind of teach you about our engagement approach and how and when to reach out. How should I even think about an in-mail? Is that something I should use? When should I use it? How often? That kind of thing. So there's a lot of good details still to come. So hopefully we'll see you all back on the next call as well. But thank you so much for the questions and the engagement. Feel free to add me to LinkedIn, ask me questions if you have them. But yeah, I appreciate your engagement today, everybody. So with that, I'll bid you adieu and have a wonderful evening.
All right. Perfect. Thank you so much, Robin.
All the best.